All right, in summary, Cindy always drew as a child, given art materials to occupy her time, while her father, a nature photographer, traveled with his family throughout Southwest Canada, Mexico, Baja California. She began her art studies at Glendale Community College and traveled to Austria to study with Wolfgang Mahner and Ernst Fuchs. She earned her BFA at Northern Arizona University in painting and graphic design and specialized in watercolor and studied old master techniques while earning a Master of Fine Arts at ASU. She is adjunct faculty in painting and drawing with Mesa Community College. She has also taught at Shemer Art Center, Brill Fine Arts Center, and Scottsdale Artist School. Having an affinity for representational imagery, Cynthia is fascinated with the rendering of the effects of light on reflective surfaces. Though dealing with images of real objects, her perception of structure, shape, space, and pattern comes through in the overall impact of her paintings. Many are quite large, as you've heard, especially for watercolors, and that helps make their presence felt viscerally. Welcome, Cindy.
Oh, thank you for having me.
To start our interview, what is your favorite word?
Well, I was thinking about this question, and I have some. I like interesting words, and I don't know if I have a favorite word, but I have a word story just recently. I heard this word, and I think it's because I watch a lot of PBS, a lot of Channel 8, a lot of BBC productions, and I came up with this word piffle, and I thought, oh, piffle, and I haven't heard that word in a long time, so I looked it up, and of course it means nonsense. So I go into my classes and I say, okay, the obscure word of the day, which I like to do to my students, is piffle. They looked at me like I'm kind of strange, and apparently there's a different meaning in the Urban Dictionary.
What is your least favorite word?
Awesome.
Boy, you hear that a lot.
Yeah, I really get tired of that word. If everything is awesome, then nothing is.
What turns you on?
Romantically speaking?
Generally.
Okay. Well, I like anything that's sort of a puzzle. I like to be challenged intellectually, so I'm always liking puzzles, and I always try to explain my work as if you like jigsaw puzzles, you'll like doing what I do. If you don't have any patience for jigsaw puzzles, it's probably not the right direction for you. But puzzles and mysteries, and other than that, I really like nature and animals, and in people. I like kindness and generosity, and people who are interested in nature and animals and have good humor.
I think some of that comes from your dad.
Definitely, that I was exposed to that from an early age, and so I have a real affinity for animals. I've been around them ever since I can remember. I mean, all kinds of animals, not just cats and dogs, but armadillos and hawks and owls and iguanas and snakes, and I had a pet rat once, and so I'm not too squeamish about unusual animals.
What turns you off?
Negativity, or the opposite of all those things, anything that is the opposite of, or not, attitudes against nature and against animals. But generally, like, negative energy turns me off.
What sound or noise do you love?
My cat purring next to me. I just know that he's happy and that he's safe. And I would say that, you know, my dog, except he doesn't make a noise like that. Oh, well, he tries, though. I think the cat has been teaching him to purr.
What sound or noise do you hate?
Anything that wakes me up. Being a light sleeper.
Well, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Right this way, your studio's waiting.
Do you play a musical instrument?
I have in the past. I played the flute in the band and the accordion and also. And I always wanted to play the piano. I didn't ever get the piano. That's what I wanted.
It's interesting because it just about every one of our artists in this series has music as a side experience. It just seems to go hand in hand in many cases, maybe not in every. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Well, I've always had this desire to go to Paris or France in general, and maybe because of the idea, you know, that the artists are, you know, that's the art mecca for artists to go and live in a studio in France, and I've never been there. So I don't know if I would like to live there until I get there and find out, but I definitely want to find out. But I think somewhere in Europe. And so I'm always thinking of those formal aspects of the art, you know, the formal qualities which go back to abstract theories. And I try to explain this sometimes to students who think of still life as really boring.
Yeah, they usually do. I notice in the figure drawing, though, that the sense of design shows through. You like to move in on the figure, make sections of the picture plane have shapes that are formed by the figure rather than just doing a figure sitting in the middle of the page, which so many students end up doing.
Right. I try to impress on my students that every inch of that space is important. It's not just what your focus is. Everything else is a supporting cast to it. So all of that has to be thought out.
And what advice would you give a young aspiring artist today?
If they're serious about art, first thing to do is study. To study it and to really hone your craft. To work with different teachers, because you need more than one type of input in your work, but to really focus and study and work hard at building your craft and becoming really good at that. And then if you're after that, which takes a long time and a lot of hard work and patience, if you want to be serious about art as a career, you know, really think very hard about it. Think about what kind of art you do, what kind of art you want to do, where you want to be, and then learn the business. Because it is a business. And I don't know anybody who really wants to be a starving artist. But it's very easy to be one.
Exactly. Do you think this is an area that perhaps the colleges could do a better job at? So many universities offer tons of art courses, and supposedly you can study to be an artist at a university, which I'm beginning to question myself. Do you think they are paying attention to that side of an art career enough?
Well, I would say it depends on the instructor. I mean, the schools, they have professional courses where they teach you how to build your resume and build your portfolio and put this package together and look at for grants and do all of that, but you don't really know it until you do it. So some people are better than others, but I think one thing that's important for a young artist to do is to get in touch with actual working artists who are out there in the field working and learn from them. You know, be an apprentice to them. It's another education. First you learn your skill, and then you have to learn about the art world itself, and the best way to learn it is to be in it. And I always tell students, if you want to know how to do it, ask somebody who's doing it. And it's a different mindset. Maybe that's not the right word. It's a different set of skills once you get out there and you make choices and you make priorities and you make a lot of sacrifices. So you have to decide if this is really the world for you. And I think schools can't, I don't know if they don't want to do it, but they're just under a different set of pressures, and they have pressures on them as to what they can teach and how much they can get done with certain amounts. So the people that are out there doing it are your second set of teachers.
Yes, Tom.
Cindy, I know that you're in a critique group, and the critique groups have been really important to me. I think I've learned a whole lot. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I've been in the critique group. I'm in the same critique group as Tom, so I know Tom. And I've been in there for many, many years. And you remember I told you about my friend who's always finding things in my work and telling me things. Well, it's a whole bunch of people who find things in your work and tell you things. And it's good because well, for one thing, we have to bring work every month to our meetings, so it forces you to get ready and bring something that you're working on. And then it's really nice to have objective eyes look on your work and comment on your work, and then they'll see things that you won't see, and they'll argue over things amongst themselves. So sometimes some people get into some really, passionate feelings about the negative space in something, but I think it's all good, and it's all good. You need to have objective opinions. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but it helps to hear them.
Yes.
As a new artist, where would you recommend starting to try to get exposure for your artwork?
One thing I think is really important is to get involved in the local organizations. So for that way you meet people, so you start networking, and the organizations such as, there's Arizona Artists Guild, and there's Arizona Watercolor Association, Contemporary Watercolor Association, there's a pastel group, there's portrait artists. I just joined the Arizona Portrait Artists. And by working with these people, you meet all kinds of people who are that you wouldn't normally meet, and then they will have group shows. So that's one way to get your work out there, and you start listening to other people's ideas and hear their experiences. And so this stepping stone, one step leads to another step. It's but I think you start local and you expand. There's lots and lots of regional and national shows that you can enter, and that's all important. But you start local and think of it like a ripple. You ripple, you grow outwards from that.